All right, we're back. We're back. Lionel Messi is too. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Miami Total Football Radio, the show. As you can see, as you will hear, it's Jose Armando, aka Island Jose, aka Cinco, and myself, Franco Panizo, your two co-hosts for this show. And yes, the big talking point is that Lionel Messi is back. Well, at least in training. We're going to dive into that, what that means, when we might expect him back. Jose has some juicy details there to chew on. We'll talk about Inter Miami's upcoming match against the Chicago Fire. We'll talk about the recent match against FC Cincinnati, Toto Aviles' red card, Luis Suarez's record-breaking brace, and of course, not insignificantly, the Supporter Shield race, because Inter Miami is in pole position right now. They're in first place, and it's looking good for the South Florida side. So before we get to all of that, on Miami Total Football Radio, we will begin with Jose and the pleasantries. Jose, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Training was really something this week. So finally, we got the moment that we have been waiting for. But, that obviously makes the job a lot easier and a lot more exciting. Yeah, but overall, good. My mother in law is here, so I'm having a lot of fun. Yeah, I like having her home. So, yep, doing well.
Look at you. Look at you. What a great son in law. What a great son. So that's all I'm going to say. Skrilla in the comment section. Hello, Skrilla. Says, I'm surprised I'm not 30 minutes late. No, we're not 30
Franco
minutes
was
late.
late,
No,
actually. I
no,
got
no,
here
no,
like
no.
at 9:20, something like that, and Franco was
9:21.
late.
9:21. No, I was
Yeah,
not.
he was late.
I have to
But
say, and I shared this with you, Jose, so I have to share this with the listeners. I had to say, I had to see my mother and have a nice dinner before I leave because tomorrow I'm traveling. No, I'm not going to Chicago, but I'm traveling for Labor Day weekend. I will watch the game from my vacation, so it's a vacation with some work. But I'm going to Las Vegas. Cheers to me going to Las Vegas. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to have a
another
blast.
vacation.
What do you mean another
Man, oh man.
vacation? When was
Fifth
the last
vacation in
vacation
the
I went on?
year.
Where was
That's
the last
fine. I
vacation
mean,
I went on?
it was like June.
June? Where did I go in June?
Didn't you go to a Copa America game?
No,
You didn't?
no,
Oh, I thought you had planned to go, and
no.
you didn't go then.
I was thinking about going, but I didn't go. So see, this
Oh,
is like, yeah, this is a nice, well-do vacation. Anyway, well, so people don't want to hear about my vacation plans, but I will ask them to give us a like, a follow, a share, a subscribe, a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps us out tremendously. We are getting very close. I know I say this often, but we haven't hit the number yet, but we're very close. Help us get to the number, especially on Apple Podcasts. We are almost there. And if you're new or old to the YouTube channel, if you're watching this on X or Twitter, join the YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe. It is free, and it helps us tremendously. So yeah, mucho. Jose, all right. I don't want to take up too much time today because I've got to go pack my bag. No, I'm just kidding. But I do have to pack my bags. But I don't want to take up too much time because we've gone long on the last couple. So I want to try to keep this nice and tight. So we will jump right into it. Lionel Messi back on the training field today on Wednesday morning. We had heard that he had been in training through Tata Martino, but until we see it, can't
we
believe
believe it.
when it
Yes.
comes to Lionel Messi. So, Jose, what did you see today at training from Messi? What did he do? What do you think about his recovery and where he's at? Obviously, sure, it's very limited. I'm sure you're going to have to give us some conjecture here, as I will, but give us some news. Give us a tidbit. Let the people give the reason a reason to smile. Another reason to smile because Inter Miami's been
Yeah.
doing plenty of that lately.
No, he was looking really good this morning. Yeah, really, really good. The moment he came out, he was very energetic. You know how he usually is the last one coming in with Luis Suarez? Well, it was different this morning. I wouldn't say he was the first one coming out, but he was in the first group. And he came out by himself, and they had a plan of what he needed to do. He did some work, a little bit of a warm up on the side, and obviously we thought, okay, that's it. That's all he's gonna do. He's gonna be by himself with the trainer, working on the side as the rest of the group was, getting
As we
together.
saw last time, right? Last time he was recovering from an
Right.
injury. That's all we would see.
Yes, but no, this time was different. I don't know if it was by design. I don't know if it was early, But he then went to grab a bib and he put it on, and yeah, he was part of the group. Just like any other day. So obviously that's a very good sign. Because it wouldn't be surprising if he only did the work on the side, and maybe when we left he did a little bit more. But we're obviously not able to report on something that we're not able to see. So what
You
we
can
saw this
speculate,
morning,
though. You can speculate.
yeah, no, but what we saw this morning, and here comes the speculation, makes me think
Tom says that's
that
great news in the commentary.
yeah, makes me think that he's very close. He's very very close. I remember Tata talking a little bit about the mental side of the injury. Just getting away from the thought that you're not ready. So I think, I don't think he's gonna be a part of the team. He won't travel to Chicago. I would be surprised if he travels, because they do have enough time. They do have enough time after the Chicago Fire game, and once they play against Philly at home, there are only three more. Well, at least in the regular season, three more home matches. So I'm guessing, he's gonna want to play at least in one of those, and I think he'll probably play on three of them if he's good to go against Philly. But very good signs this morning, no doubt.
So does that mean that he would return against Philly after there's a break, right? There's a game in
Yes.
Chicago, international break one weekend, and then they return to action. Is that the game that we should, in your supposition, expect Lionel Messi back on the field for Inter Miami? In your opinion,
Yes, yes, I would expect him to be back against Philly. Again, that's a home game. I think is that a midweek game? I think it is. I think it is. That's the
you have to check the
14th.
schedule.
Yes, I think that's a Wednesday, and there's one more game on Saturday, which I think is it Atlanta United. I think it is. I think it's Atlanta United right after Philly. So, and that's an away game on turf. So, if we are betting on Messi coming back in September, I'm pretty sure they are going to want him to play at home on grass at Chase Stadium against Philly rather than have him play on turf.
September 14th is a home game on a Saturday, so not a midweek match. The midweek match would take place against Atlanta United on the 18th, and that is in Atlanta on turf field. So, yes, I agree with you. I imagine that's when we'll see him back on the field for Inter Miami. So, I don't know if the news, with him returning, if that's raised, secondary market ticket prices for that game. But if I was a betting man, and I'm not, that's not the reason why I'm going to Las Vegas. But if I was a betting man, I would put money on him playing. I don't know if he'll start. Maybe he will, but I would bet
Against
on
Philly?
him.
Yeah, I think he'll start. He was looking really good. He was looking good.
But it's
Match fitness,
do
drinking a
they
lot of
need him for
water.
the regular
He
season,
was
though? Do they
very
really
hot.
need him for the regular season at this point?
No, they don't. Although it's rather important for them to win the
Sure.
Supporter Shield. More
Sure.
than because of winning the Supporter Shield and having a trophy. I think the value of winning the Supporter Shield for them is if they make it to the final, they want to face LAFC or LA Galaxy at home and not on the road. Or, in the conference final against Columbus or Cincinnati, they want to play that match at home.
Look at
So,
that. You giving us your MLS Cup playoff bracket already. We're not even out of August yet, Jose.
well,
Impressive.
I mean,
Impressive stuff.
it's pretty simple at this
I'm
point.
gonna clip this part and I'm going to
Clip
bring it
it.
to you come playoff time.
Yeah, no problem. We're gonna be in the same spot, by the end of the regular season.
Hey man, look, the MLS Cup playoffs are pretty unpredictable. Pretty unpredictable.
Not for Inter Miami if they have.
Maybe
Messi.
not for Inter Miami, especially with Messi. But the MLS Cup playoffs are unpredictable. Teams that you think are favorites that should go far or should make it to MLS Cup don't end up doing it. It's MLS Cup playoffs are just MLS Cup playoff-y. That's the best way I can put it. Teams that are supposed to be favorites don't go far. They get knocked out. There's penalty kicks. So I don't think he needs to play a huge part in this stretch run. Yes, if he's healthy, of course, bring him back in, reintroduce him to the fold, let him get his rhythm. get back to game sharpness, game fitness. But I don't think you need to rush it. So that's why I'm saying, again, this is just supposition. I don't think in that game against the Philadelphia Union, he'll start. Complete supposition, but I don't think he'll start. I think he'll come off the bench. Again, Tata's kind of like braced, in his comments, in sus declaraciones, that they've got to take it slow with him. They've got to take it slow with him. So,
but at the same time, I think, I mean, if you really want to make a run, and thinking that the next FIFA window is in October, and that he will probably be leaving for that one, and he's gonna want to play on those games, then I think he probably wants to play a game or two before that, So, again, we've been saying this for the entire season. The national team is a priority, and if he needs those 2 games, or at least 1 game, to be in much better shape coming into the FIFA window in October, then I think they'll probably do it, And I think it'll be beneficial for Inter Miami. I think you want to have him in good form.
William Vargas in the comment section says, drinking a clause. So, yes, I am drinking a White Claw. And no, we are not sponsored by White Claw. We should be, though, because I'm a big proponent, big advocate for White Claws. I know Jose doesn't drink, but...
Well, I was about to make a comment, but I'm not going to make it just in case they want to sponsor us.
Actually, you know what? Parenthesis on this Lionel Messi talk, because I just remembered something that I told you would be shared on this pod at the last game against FC Cincinnati. And that is Cinco, a.k.a. Island Jose, and he's going to smile and chuckle and laugh here. Like, I've already known this, and for those of you that have watched consistently probably know that Jose Armando is a little pop culturally challenged. Not the best at knowing up-to-date music, movies, catchphrase. Like, it was about football.
I don't know Fercho. Nobody knows Fercho.
If it's about sports, Jose will know. But if it's about anything other than that, Jose's a little bit lost. He didn't know about Fade, who Fade was, who Fercho was. He does now. We were talking in the press box before the FC Cincinnati game. And we were talking about possibly, the Lionel Messi of Hollywood actors in Harrison Ford. And Jose's like, isn't that the guy from Pretty Woman? I was like, no, Jose. That was Richard Gere. Now we're going way back. I was like, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. He was like, oh, I know Indiana Jones. He's like, Star Wars. Jose didn't know who Han Solo was. He's like, the guys with the black mask and the white masks. And he's like, yeah, that's all I know. I was like, oh, my goodness, Jose.
I know Jurassic Park as well.
Which one? Like the first one and that's it?
Well, the one with the dinosaurs.
Please rip Jose in the comment section, people. Please. No. Anyway, back to Inter.
Nobody knows Fercho.
People know who Harrison Ford is. Come on, Jose. Come on.
Harrison Ford, yes. I know the name, yes.
I know the name. Yes. All right. Well, back to Lionel Messi and going to a comment section from Tank721. We're a great team without Messi. With him on the pitch, we are almost untouchable.
That is true, though.
Is that true? Is that true?
Well, I don't know if I would go that far to a great team, but they are a very good team without him now. And I think that, they deserve some credit for that because they were not a good team without him last year.
Well, who deserves that credit? Who deserves that credit?
I think Tata. I think Tata deserves credit on that because, he was able to bring the right players for his system. I still probably believe that, he's overusing Julian Gressel a little bit and that he might be even better. But I must say also that Julian Gressel did, he's playing better. He's playing better and he's having an impact in games now. I will still have him as a role player and maybe give him an opportunity in the second half. I think that will be better suited for him. But, obviously I'm not the coach. So, but I do think they're better. And they are fun to watch at times without Messi. They don't need Messi anymore to be successful in MLS. And I think that they have proven that.
To be successful in the MLS regular season.
Correct.
Not in MLS, because include playoffs, they're going to need Messi.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes, in the regular season, they have been successful. And I think, we all were very surprised during the Copa America stretch how well they performed. I never was overly dramatic thinking that they will end up, in fifth or sixth place, or it's going to be catastrophic, the Copa America for them. I never thought that. I never thought that. But I think they had a very good performance in that stretch.
William Vargas in the comment section says, yes, Gressel is overused. Yes, Jose, Gressel is overused, with the laugh my ass off. Before that, LMAO. Kala says, is Gressel back from his personal issue, which is a bit of a mystery, right? It's been a bit of a mystery why he's been gone. We chalk it up, again, speculation, not inside information. We're chalking it up to probably some family issue. I jokingly said he's probably been doing too much podcasting, but we truthfully don't know. Been working on trying to find out. But yes, he's back in the mix. He's back in the mix. Hopefully everything's okay. Jokes aside. Jose, going back to the regular season, right? Because we'll talk about the playoffs. And Messi needs to be a big part of that. You need your difference makers on the field if you want to win the big trophy. They have to make an impact, especially in the big games and the big moments. So obviously Messi's a key component. But like you said, this team has done well even without him this year. They are in first place in the Eastern Conference. They just took down FC Cincinnati, the second place team in the same conference, at home this past Saturday in a game that they could have probably won by more had it not played out the way it did, which we'll talk about. I thought about this today, like literally while I was preparing the podcast. And I didn't mean to make this a talking point for this week's show because, again, I'm trying to condense it, keep it tight. But I do think it's worth mentioning. I do think it's a talking point. And I'm very curious to see what the comment section says, because the comment section tends to have a field day with one Tata Martino. They tend to, when he does well, they give him his plaudits. But when he doesn't do too well, I feel like there's more criticism than there is praise for him. And maybe that's across the board because of the team he has, the superstars that he has available, et cetera, et cetera. However, like you said, this team has done well without Messi, without Suarez at points and for stretches. And they've done so well that they are still in the fight, in pole position for the Supporters' Shield. Is Tata Martino the front runner, in your opinion, for Coach of the Year?
No. I think he's in the top three, probably, yes. But as it stands right now, I think Wilfred Nancy. Yeah, he should be the best coach in the league. Yeah. I mean, if you go back to Steve Cherundolo and the finals that he has been able to play, the problem is that he keeps losing them. But no, I think Wilfred.
The Buffalo Bills of MLS head coaches.
Yeah, no, Wilfred Nancy. I think he deserves that. I think that is in the top three. Yes, but
Toby Forrest finalist, but not front runner. I would agree with that. I would agree he's a finalist. I think Wilfred Nancy with a lesser team in terms of the individual parts, not the sum of the parts, but in terms of the individual parts, has gotten more, has put together more of an impressive season to this point. Now, if Inter Miami, I know the voting takes place before MLS Cup, but if Inter Miami goes on to win the Supporters' Shield and the MLS Cup, then Tata Martino can pat himself on the back for a job well done. A job well done.
If he's a finalist, he'll get it. It's MLS. No,
but the voting happens before then, so we'll know the results before.
They will push for Tata. Obviously Tata.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of.
Are you kidding me? Messi's coach getting the Coach of the Year award is not more relevant than Wilfred Nancy getting it. Of course it is.
I think there's a lot of steam behind the Wilfred Nancy train right now. I think people across the league, media. Fans, I would imagine players.
I'm not trusting MLS a lot on that one.
But you think
just like the player of the week, goal of the week. There's no chance, no matter what you do, in the rest of the week, if Messi or Suarez scores, they are player of the week.
How about that? How about that from Skrilla? It's a good. Plantea una buena idea. Una buena pregunta.
If they win the Supporters' Shield,
it's a good idea or a good topic. Un buen tema. If Inter Miami wins the Supporters' Shield, is Tata the MVP of the season? Of course, a player will get the player MVP, but will Tata get his kudos and be the most important figure of the season?
No, I still don't.
Who would be more important if they win the Supporter Shield?
I would say Luis Suarez.
No, this team functioned even without Luis Suarez.
I don't know. I don't know about
This
that.
team functioned. I'm
Without
not saying they
Luis
would
Suarez
function over a
and
course.
Messi, because we're thinking about the regular season as it is, right? We're not thinking about the regular season with what could have been with Messi. We're taking into account everything that has happened to this point.
Of
I
course,
don't know if Luis
or
Suarez
say
is not available.
if, but up to this point, when Luis Suarez hasn't been around and Messi hasn't been around, I mean, the team's had some bad moments, happens during the course of the season, but they've been better than they've been poor, right? Let's actually look. And Tank 721 says, if we win convincingly, it will be Tata. I still can't believe he has haters. Skrilla says Tata can break the Supporter Shield record team. So I imagine that means for points. So I think that's where he's trying to go with that. Someone in the comment section, I didn't pull it up. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly. You'll get a chuckle out of this one, Jose. Kada says, Yannick Bright just to annoy Jose. There we go.
No, I like Yannick Bright. Actually,
No.
We actually saw him this afternoon at that point, because we had an interview with Trey Callender, and as we were running out of the stadium, he was coming in with a member of the PR
and he
staff
slid tackled you from behind because he heard you talking smack on the podcast.
And we had a nice conversation, and he was actually very nice. He's a nice guy.
He hasn't heard the podcast then, because if he had heard the podcast, he would have definitely slid tackled you. Toto Aviles style, slid tackled you into your shin. We'll talk about that. Jose, this is the current Supporter Shield standings race. Inter Miami is in first place. And yes, they've qualified for the playoffs. That's what that X means next to them. They have 56 points from 26 matches. They are 4 points clear of the LA Galaxy, which have 52 points, but they've played 27 games. So Inter Miami has a game in hand on the second place team. After that, you have FC Cincinnati with 48 points from 26 games. LAFC and Columbus Crew with 47 and 44 respectively after playing 24 matches apiece. So there's some teams that still have...
LAFC is a problem there.
Okay, so I was going to say, there's some teams that have some games in hand on Inter Miami. But games in hand do not necessarily mean points in hand. Just because you have points that are up for grab, para disputar, doesn't mean and doesn't guarantee that you're going to win them. Right? Like that's so. Is Inter Miami for you the favorite to win the Supporter Shield? Adding another trophy to Tata Martino, Lionel Messi, and Inter Miami's achievements.
Yes. I don't put a lot of value into that trophy, to be honest. I don't think that's meaningful.
El doblete, Jose, que estuvo en el doblete.
No, that doesn't count. But that would follow along the lines of that first playoff appearance in 2020, the playing that thing that MLS did just to annoy everybody. I guess I don't know. I think they are the front runners, and anything short of them winning in first place in the regular season and winning MLS Cup is not acceptable.
What?
Yes, they have to get them both. And honestly, I don't see a way in which they can get one or the other. They need to get the Supporter Shield for them to win MLS Cup. Because I think if they go on the road against LAFC, well, it depends on that, really. If you have to go on the road against LAFC or you have to go on the road against Columbus or Cincinnati, they might be in trouble.
I don't necessarily agree that the Supporter Shield does not... it doesn't mean as much as winning a regular season or a league in other parts of the world. Because clearly the regular season is not balanced when it comes to Major League Soccer.
Correct.
But it does mean something. It does mean something, especially if it's the first one. Anytime it's the first one, that is significant, that is memorable, memorable, e importante.
Nobody remembers the first supporter shield.
Yes, they do.
Although, I would even go this far. I think you would rather have a Leagues Cup than the supporter shield. Yes. Would you rather have Inter Miami won the supporter shield last year and not Leagues Cup? I don't think so.
Because it was like the first, Messi had just arrived, but like
Yeah, but it's an
in a
international
general
competition.
season, in a general season, does the League's Cup like is there really that much importance behind it? In a normal season when it's not Messi's arrival, and I don't know. Like if
Yeah,
you look
it's
back on a
this.
season, you only won League's Cup or you only won Supporter Shield.
It shouldn't be a good season
I'll say
if you
this:
only get one of them.
one player in a recent season came up to me, and his team was in pole position for the Supporter Shield. And this is an argument that happens in the MLS world. Now, I don't think there's much of an argument on my part, but the player told me, "Well, we're gonna try to win both, but supporter shield's more important. It means more. Everybody knows that." That was his position from being in a team that was in first place, heading towards winning the supporter shield. That team did not win MLS Cup, by the way, because there is a trend in Major League Soccer of teams winning supporter shield. They do not normally win MLS Cup. They normally, at some point in the playoffs, fall short. So
Those are
not
regular
always,
MLS teams.
not always is it a good sign to win the supporter shield. At least if you believe, trends in history. All the same, for me, MLS Cup is clear cut. The number one trophy when it comes to, the regular season and the playoffs. When it comes to supporter shield or Leagues Cup, supporter shield means you were good over 34 games. Leagues Cup, you were good in a tournament. Now, I'm a big World Cup guy, and I'm not going to compare Leagues Cup to the World Cup, but so I don't want to make it sound like, a tournament is just, there's not much, magic that can happen in a tournament, but Leagues Cup just
Yeah, they're
doesn't.
both pretty low. They're both pretty low
The
in terms
supporter
of
shield's a little higher.
importance.
A little
No,
higher.
I don't think it's
Smidge.
higher. I don't think it's higher because first of all, it's a complete and an absolute lie that you're the best team in the regular season because you didn't face the rest of
Correct,
all
correct.
the
But
teams in
but
the
within
league.
MLS's structure, within
Yeah,
the
but that's
very
lying.
complex, I mean,
That's making something up. That's you thinking, well, that is the system. So okay, we're not the best, but we are, or similar to the debate recently in the Olympics. We are world champions, but we only compete within teams in the states. So you know what? We think we're the best. So let's just say we are world champions. That's
Kyle,
something you believe.
Kyle in the comment section says, and this is random. Franco, I heard a pod with Heath Pierce, and LOL, he got pissed about something you wrote years ago. I'm sure he did. He's not the first person that I've probably pissed off with something I've written or said. I remember him getting really, side note parentheses, him getting really pissed off at me at a New York Red Bulls practice. I asked for him after one training session. This is when you could ask for players and you would get them as opposed to just being assigned players automatically. And I asked him about not playing as much, and he snapped at me. Kept it professional, but he kind of barked at me. It was like he wasn't answering those questions and to move on. So, but that's fine. That was the story. Heath Pierce, tight-lipped mum on lack of playing time, whatever it was. So, wouldn't be surprised if it was something along
I'm
those
sorry
lines.
that I don't know who Heath Pierce is. Sorry.
I mean, Heath Pierce wasn't some crack. So maybe he'll get mad if he hears that. Heath Pierce wasn't some crack player, but Jose, you should know who Heath Pierce was, brother. Like you cover CONCACAF, and you've covered it for a long time. You have a lot of mileage
Let's see.
between those eyes. A lot of
I probably know him
but
then.
come on, Jose. Really? You don't know who Harrison Ford is. Don't know what Star Wars is. Don't know who Heath Pierce is. Don't know who Fercho is. What do you know, Jose? What do you know?
All right,
We gotta get you off that island, man. We gotta get you off that
Heath
island.
Pierce. I just found him cheating here on my phone. Is that him? I think that's him.
Tank
Right?
seven to what gave you a yellow card And Tank 721, which I don't know if this is true, and I've covered Luis Robles a long time. But Tank 721 says Luis Robles said you used to make him nervous. I don't know if that's true or not. I've known Luis Robles a long time. Covered him from the Red Bulls days when he first arrived. This is a nice little anecdote for long-time Inter Miami fans. Luis Robles pulled up to the Montclair State University training field, which was down a large hill, like a large incline. Came all the way down. He had signed with the Red Bulls as like a backup goalkeeper. He had come from Germany with his very pregnant wife, who had in her belly their first kid. They ended up, I believe they have 3, maybe 4 actually. They have 3 boys, and a girl. I can't remember.
I think I remember 3.
Okay, well, he didn't even have any kids at the time yet, and he came, and I've covered him from all his years at the Red Bulls to all his years in Inter Miami before. Was it 1 year? Maybe it was 2 years. I can't remember. My mind's foggy right now. Maybe too much White Claw. I'm already ready for Vegas. But his 1 season, I think. It was 1 season with Inter Miami. Maybe 2. But I covered him a long time. So, anyway, parenthesis aside. No, I don't agree with you. I think Supporter Shield, Leagues Cup. In a regular year. William Vargas agrees. Supporter Shield, greater than Leagues Cup. Toby Force says Leagues Cup equals Carabao Cup. Tank 721 says Supporter Shield would have been amazing to win, but Phil Neville would still be the coach, so good thing that didn't happen. And Toby Force says
the Open Cup is definitely better than both of them together.
Yeah, not right now. It's not. Not right now.
Even I'll take it right now.
No
the real reason why teams want to win the Supporter Shield it's because the playoffs, because of the home field advantage. That's the only reason. I completely agree with Tata. After the Cincinnati game when I guess some of the media members were expecting him to celebrate, or the team to celebrate, and he said like, yeah, it's good for the team, it's exciting, but you know what, it's just another step, kind of expected for us to make it this far. So I kind of agree with Tata on that one. They are kind of expected to win Supporter Shield. I'm sure MLS is going to want to make something out of it, but I don't think
Messi will add to his career mark of most trophies. It will count. It counts as trophy, my friend.
He's not going to count that.
That does count. Francisco Garcia, Supporter Shield feels like a smiley face after having a B+ in an exam.
Correct. Yes. Completely agree with Francisco. He's absolutely right.
All right. So, before we switch to subjects, the games. Jose, we talked about Messi. We talked about Tata, Supporter Shield. Inter Miami's in pole position. How many games are left?
7?
7? Does Inter Miami get it done? Prediction time. Hands to the flame. Does Inter Miami get it done? Do they win the Supporter Shield? Do they win home field advantage throughout the 2024 MLS Cup playoffs?
Yes, I think they do it, and I'll tell you why.
You said LAFC was a problem. You didn't expand on that.
No, I think LAFC is the team to beat if you're Inter Miami. But if MLS follows the trend, and this is something that Inter Miami fans will know about, usually when you make it far in a tournament like Leagues Cup, you struggle the next few weeks. And that is going to happen to Columbus, and that is going to happen to LAFC, because they have so many games in the next few weeks that they will have to rotate, and they will struggle at some point. And LAFC, they do have the Open Cup. Well, if they win tonight, they will have the Open Cup final. They're playing tonight. Columbus, they do have one of the Leagues Cup best friends, which is the Campeones Cup, which makes no sense after you played Leagues Cup. But, they have to play that game. So they have a very busy schedule, and Inter Miami is the complete opposite. They have a few games here and there, but they have 2 weeks right now to rest after the Chicago Fire game, which isn't a very easy game. It's a 30-point gap between Inter Miami and the Chicago Fire, just in case you guys didn't know that.
Focus, Jose. Focus. This is why we end up going an hour and a half. And you're the one that wants to, do it concisely. You want to go have dinner. and go play your Call of Duty or whatever you're playing these days. And then it's you going off tangents about Inter Miami and the Chicago Fire, which we're going to talk about the Chicago
points.
Fire
Can
in
you
the next
believe it's
segment.
30 points? It's 30 points.
We'll
It's
talk about them in the next
crazy.
segment. Stay on track.
Okay,
here.
okay,
Stay
I'm gonna
on
focus.
track.
I'm gonna focus. So I think LAFC and Columbus, I wouldn't go that far to say they will struggle, but I think they're gonna have a tough time in a game or two, and
They're going to
then
have some slip-ups.
right, and games that they were supposed to win, they might end up with a draw, and that will obviously help Inter Miami. So
Will Inter Miami have any slip-ups in this final stretch?
I seriously doubt it. I mean, we can quickly go through the schedule, and they do have a game against Columbus, and that might be the only game that they should struggle with. I mean, they don't have tough opposition coming up ahead. We obviously know what's going to happen with the Chicago Fire. They're not, a top team in the East. The Philadelphia Union, they have been struggling as well, and they have tired legs because even though they didn't play the League's Cup final, they made it to the third place game, which they ended up losing, yes, against the Rapids in penalties. So, if you really look at the schedule, I mean, they should have no problem. Yeah, and, they have the gift of finishing the season against New England Revolution, which I think it's going to be a little bit, disappointing to the fans because Messi's probably not going to play the game. They're most likely they're going to have the supporter shield by that point, and that's the last game of the regular season. Now I don't know how the season ticket holder situation works when it comes to the players. I'm assuming it's just like any other league here, that people are still going to have to buy tickets for that separately. So, you know how the prices are going to be for those games.
Speaking of prices, William Hernandez, and this is the second time he's mentioned this, at least second time. So sorry, William, we got to your comment here. Inter Miami versus New York City FC tickets dropped and wonder why, if there's a high possibility Messi will play. Is Yankee Stadium turf or what type? It's not turf, but part of the field is on a baseball diamond, so the mound is there, even though they try to put grass over it. So not the best conditions. Very narrow field as well. Why the tickets have dropped? No idea.
They'll probably go up any moment.
Jump on them now.
Wait a minute. Maybe that's during the FIFA window, is it?
In October?
September 21st. No. So he should be fine. Ooh, and that's a 2 p.m. start.
Interesting.
Well,
all right. So, Jose, you think they get it done?
Yes, they will.
I think they do have a slip up along the way. I think they'll have a slip up that'll make it interesting. It's the MLS way, man. It's just my prediction. I think they're going to slip up somewhere along the way. It'll make things tight again. The pressure will be on. It'll make for more of a talking point and narrative for the broadcast and, for just general conversation. But I think they get it done.
Here's the question.
The comment section does too. Wait, 1 second, Jose. Francisco Garcia says yes. Kala says yes with an exclamation point. And Tank721 says hell yes in caps with an exclamation point. So the comment section is feeling very, very good about this.
Here's the question, though. If you're an Inter Miami fan, and hopefully we hear from the comment section here, would you rather have Inter Miami lose a game in this stretch and maybe put at risk the supporter shield? You never know. Salud.
We're switching it up. It's fine doing time now.
Would you rather have them lose a game than go unbeaten in this run and then have the pressure in the playoffs that you're going to end up losing the first game in such a long time and the season's going to be over?
I think you're on an island with that one, brother.
I'm superstitious. I don't like my only team.
Caballero, as
Right.
they say in Peru.
I would rather have my team lose a game like this. I would lose the game against the New England Revolution.
On purpose.
I would play Inter Miami CF2. I would give the entire MLS Next Pro roster a chance. I will have them lose a game, just let it settle. Start a new season in the playoffs. I just don't like my teams, At some point, you're going to have to lose a game. At some point, it's going to happen.
No, why? Why does it have to happen? Why?
Because it happens.
Why? But it doesn't have to happen.
Because there's
Inter Miami could
VAR
be
makes a
a
mistake.
dominant team with Messi back in the fold. They just go and clear the rest of the regular season, and then they go through the playoffs. Not saying they're going to, cruise through the playoffs, but, bro, I don't think they need to lose one so that they don't have that pressure on their back. Lionel Monaco in the comment section, I think he's a first-time commenter, says, 9-game win streak. Toby Four says, go unbeaten and go for the record. Lionel Monaco adds, we got this. William Hernandez is with you, though. William Hernandez says, waiting for it to pull up. I'd rather them slip now, but go all out for MLS Cup. The issue is a terrible Champions League and Leagues Cup with the expensive star players they have to win. Key is FIFA Club World Cup in 2025. Tank721 does not agree with you at all because from what I understand in this comment, it's a lot of trumpets. Pura trompeta, which I think is chacal, like y fuera. That's a throwback. Sábado Gigante. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Takes over to a good reference. Aging us a bit here though, but Don Francisco. I almost said Fernando Fiore. But I meant Don Francisco. All right. I think they get it done. Comment section thinks they get it done. You think they get it done?
Yes.
We've talked about MLS Cup, so I think they get it done. But we'll see. But we'll revisit that conversation later. All right, Jose. We've got 2 games to talk about. We will start with the most recent, and that was a 2-0 win for Inter. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 2-0? 2-1? 2-0. 2-0. 2-0 win against FC. This is what happens when I drink on the show. 2-0 win against FC Cincinnati. I don't know if it's a statement win, but it was a notable win for Inter Miami at home. They had lost in a bad way to FC Cincinnati on the road a few weeks prior, so they get payback. They get some revenge. They were off to a 2-0 lead in the first 7 minutes of the game. Luis Suarez with an early brace. He scored the fastest goal in Inter Miami history in, what was the official ruling, 31 seconds?
31 seconds, yes.
31 seconds. So he scores 31 seconds into this one off of a Cello Weigand's cross. We will talk about Luis Suarez. But just as big of a talking point was Thomas Toto Aviles.
Yes.
Because while Inter Miami was cruising, or looked like they were going to cruise to a lopsided victory that could have equaled FC Cincinnati's victory against Inter Miami a few weeks prior, Thomas Aviles gets a second yellow for a studs-up tackle late in the first half. That reduces Inter Miami to 10 men. They have to play with a man disadvantage the rest of the way. They get it done. They grind through some gritty defending in the second half. Jerry Callender had himself a good game as well, making some key interventions, some key stops. But the defense scrapped, clawed, fought. Team stayed organized. They limited FC Cincinnati. There were some close calls there that were FC Cincinnati threatened and looked like they could score, but job well done by the defense. They get the clean sheet.
Yes.
But we've got to talk about Thomas Aviles because this is not the first time that he has put the team in a bad spot with some recklessness, some carelessness, some foolishness where he loses his cool. He makes a rash challenge. He's gotten away with some, but he's also been punished plenty this year. I'd have to pull up the numbers, but I think he's up to something like 11 yellow cards in the regular season. 12 yellow cards in the regular season. He's been sent off at least twice. So,
but he has been suspended before, so that's why
correct.
It seems
because of the yellow card accumulation has also been suspended. So he's missed games. He's also gotten away with some. If you remember, like the elbow against Nashville SC, or whatever you want to call it, the hands to the face or the outstretched arm, however you want to label it. Before we get called biased here by Thomas Aviles' family in the comment section. Let's listen to Tata Martino first about the red card, and then we'll dive into our thoughts about it all. Because I'm very curious to hear your take.
Y hablándolo, yo no, él está muy apenado con lo que pasó, es consciente de que cometió un error que nos podía haber costado el resultado. Pero yo sigo insistiendo que a los chicos, sobre todo los chicos jóvenes y sobre todo estos chicos que tienen tantas cualidades y que él las tiene, es hablarle, hacerle ver que está bien tener el temperamento que él tiene, porque eso habla muy bien de él y lo que le ofrece al equipo a partir de ese temperamento y esa agresividad, pero hay un punto en que él tiene que discernir entre cuándo está a punto de cometer un error, ¿no? Pero yo no estoy para castigarlo, todo lo contrario, estoy para tratar de que él pueda crecer de la mejor manera y se transforme en el jugador que seguramente va a ser si corrige esto, porque es un central de enormes cualidades.
Host's face says it all. If I could take a snapshot of it, I would. I will ask you your thoughts in a second. I will translate that for those who don't speak Spanish or don't understand Spanish. I'll do my best to paraphrase. Tata Martino says, and he answered while the question was being asked, and it wasn't in that clip, he calls the red card or the sending off, the challenge, una imprudencia, which just means like a rash. I don't want to say foolish, but, a rash challenge. And then he goes into saying that to correct this, you just have to talk to the player. And he goes to really kind of defend Toto Aviles, saying that he has tremendous qualities, and if he corrects this, he'll make it very far because he's got all the skills. And, they like that he has a temperament like this, but it's about managing the moments and, making the right decisions. I guess like harnessing that temperament. Jose, this is inevitably, and I think it's fair for this conversation, although, it's clear to our listeners and our viewers that you tend to find any reason to defend David Ruiz. But I have a feeling that you're going to bring up the red card to David Ruiz earlier this year. I have a feeling, and we didn't talk about this before the show, but I just have a feeling you're going to bring that up and use it to compare this situation with Tomas Aviles, which I think is not unjust. I don't think it's unfair. I think it's somewhat justified. So go ahead. The mic is yours. I'm sure you've been waiting for this since Saturday night.
Well, I think Toto Aviles is very similar to David Ruiz in so many ways. The one problem is that Toto Aviles comes from a place where Tata Martino is a lot more familiar with, and that's why Tata Martino rates him so high. I think Toto Aviles is a good player. I think David Ruiz is a good player. Do I think they are the absolute best player in the league or the absolute best player at their position in Inter Miami? I don't think so. And, I think Toto gets away with a lot of stuff just because there's high expectations about him. But there are
high expectations. High expectations and an investment.
Right.
He
needs to start to develop into a much better player and a much better decision maker, because if you go back to the first yellow card in the game against Cincinnati, it's completely uncalled for. So he kind of plays with that soberbia in him that he has.
Soberbia, translate that, please.
Soberbia. What would be the right translation for it? The arrogance that I don't think he has the experience to play with. Some people might consider that to be great attitude. He's aggressive. He's this and that. But I think when you play with that arrogance, you need to have a background to prove it. So I think sometimes he's just steps over the line, and that happens very often with him. And then he's in a position where he needs to commit a foul in the middle of the field or, in a counterattack situation, and then he gets a red card. So, obviously something to think about, obviously something that needs to be talked, and I'm sure Tata already took charge of that.
Do you think Tata was as diplomatic and as pleasant behind closed doors? Or do you think he actually got somewhat of a scolding?
With Toto, yes. I think with Toto, yes, he was... he was probably tough, but not overly aggressive. It's pretty clear the way he feels about him.
It's very high on him.
Yeah, it's very high, too high, I would say. I think Toto has some qualities, but there's still a lot of stuff that Toto needs to clean up. I'm sure there's not a lot of teams from outside MLS that are right now looking at Toto and the first look that they take at him and they go like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna be great in 2 years. This guy's gonna be great in 6 months." I think there are some other players that have, you know, upside, and that Toto is just not there yet.
So your very diplomatic response there, very similar to Tata Martino there, is to say that Tomas Aviles is getting the benefit of the doubt, maybe in a situation where he shouldn't. Is that what I'm gathering you're saying?
Yes.
Is that because is it because there's not other center backs listen, Ian Frey played at center back in this game. He came in and played the right center back when Inter Miami switched to a back five in the second half. Or switched back to a back five. Or stayed in the back five. No, they switched back to the back five. So, he's an option. Sergei Kristov, there's other options there. But clearly, I agree with you in the sense that there's an investment in Toto Aviles. And they're going to give him more of a benefit of a doubt than they will with other players in that position or in other positions that they want to develop him into a better player that they can potentially sell down the line. Whether we agree with that from the outside or not, that's what, it seems like is the case when it comes to Toto. What you call soberbia, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, what you call soberbia, which again means arrogance, could be somebody else's personalidad, right? And I'm not comparing him in terms of playing style. I'm not comparing him in terms of even resume. Just comparing him from just an attitude type of standpoint, even though their attitudes are different, but just to try to relate it a little bit more. When Tyler Adams was coming up through the Red Bull system, there was a lot of talk about his personality. He didn't back down from anybody. He would get in verbal exchanges with veteran players or players more his senior, even from a young age. And again, to some people, could be arrogance. To some people, it could be confidence and personality. Now, some people will appreciate that confidence and that personality because they want that dogged mindset. They want that, I don't give a damn who's in front of me. I'm going to go after them. I'm going to play hard. I'm going to tackle them. But it can also be seen by some people, such as yourself, as lacking level-headedness, lacking intelligence within the game. So
I have a problem when you try to back it up with yellow cards. That's my problem. If you want to play with arrogance, you just don't back it up with silly fouls or yellow cards or complaining to the referee. Just back it up, winning the ball, making the right decision moving forward, knowing exactly when to pressure and when you have to stay. I think that's a better way to back it up. If you
that's an opinion. So that's just an opinion. I agree that he needs to clean it up. I agree with that. Without losing maybe his identity. Right? Because if that's who he wants to be and that's who he is, no problem. But it's about fine-tuning it, right? There's a fine line between aggressive and imposing and then, reckless and aggressive and foolish, right? So I think if he can find that line a little bit better, and maybe he will as his career progresses, then I think things will look a lot better for him. But right now, he's still in that learning process. He's still a young player. I think that's where Tata Martino kind of gives him the benefit of the doubt, the wiggle room. But it's clear that he needs to improve very quickly in that regard because Inter Miami cannot continue to play down a man. Right? This is not just him. There's been other players this year that have gotten sent off and left Inter Miami in vulnerable positions. Sometimes they've made it out. Sometimes they haven't. But you don't want to continue to show that habit down the stretch run, especially once the playoffs come and it's more of a pressure-packed situation. So
and if we go back to comparing it with David Ruiz, I think it's in a much better situation in the sense that, the center back position, it's very thin right now because, basically Christoph and Ryan Saylor are, they are not an option for Tata Martino. And so, the only center backs right now for Inter Miami are Busquets and Martinez. So obviously he's going to make mistakes, but at this point he doesn't have a lot of options on the bench so that he can sub him out and maybe give him a lesson just leaving him out of the game. So with David Ruiz, that obviously happened, and he ended up losing his position on the team. Although that was to be expected because with Benja, we know he's another favorite, and Diego Gomez and Fede Redondo getting back, it's only normal.
You sound like an upset parent. You sound like an upset parent.
No, I mean we can all agree Benja is a favorite, right?
Oh, for sure.
Benja is a favorite.
I think he's more of a favorite of Inter Miami than Tata Martino, like the organization in general. I don't necessarily think it's Tata Martino, preferred or preferido de Tata Martino. But all right, let's.
Just to be clear, nobody's above Julian Gressel. Just in case Tata gets this recording, we can all agree Gressel is Gressel y 10 más, please.
El preferido.
Yes, we already know.
El engreído, as we say in Peru, which apparently in other countries is not the same.
Yeah,
doesn't have the same
yes.
meaning, but in Peru it's el engreído, which just means like the spoiled one, the preferred one. I don't know. You want an opposing figure. The thing to me that's wild is because Thomas Aviles, he's got some height to him, but he's on the more frail side. He's a little slimmer than he is like this bulking, intimidating presence. I'd be curious to see what happens when he has to go up against some. And it's not like he hasn't this season, but when he has to more directly, not in the back five, go up against some more imposing strikers and center forwards. Someone with a little more personality. Maybe someone with a little more soberbia, as Jose said, from a striker. I would like to see what would happen there in terms of that one-on-one match. If you had a striker with like that level of attitude or personality against Thomas Aviles, how would that go? That'd be interesting to see.
That's interesting, yes. We kind of have to go back and watch the matchup.
He's got some, I mean, you could call it dirtiness if you want.
Yeah.
He's got some street to him, though. He's got some calle to him in the way he carries himself and plays. I think that's how I would describe it, more so than soberbia. I think it's just some street and some fight. Now, is that harnessed in the best way? Absolutely not. They got to do better there. But if he matches up against a striker that also has some calle, that also has some street, I'd be curious to see how that plays out. Maybe we'll see that at some point. Maybe.
Well, you have to win that matchup.
Well,
if you don't win that matchup, then, it's all talk.
Obviously. We'll see. There'll be bigger tests for Toto Aviles and, of course, more opportunities, hopefully for his sake and Inter Miami's sake, cuts down on these moments. Because he's got talent. I don't know if he's as talented as Tata Martino, out to be, but he's got talent. So, close to shaking his head. All right, the other player that has to be talked about from this game, I mean, Drake Callender deserves his shout-out. But the other player that deserves a huge mention is Luis Suarez, not only because of his early brace, but because with those two goals, well, the first goal, but the second goal added to it, he became the single-season top scorer for Inter Miami across all competitions. He has 18 on the year now. He passed Gonzalo Higuain's 16. They were both tied at 16. Now, Gonzalo Higuain scored all 16 of those goals in 2022 in the MLS regular season. But Luis Suarez now across all competitions this year has 18, so he beats Gonzalo Higuain's mark for most goals in a single season across all comps. A nice feather in Luis Suarez's cap for his first season in Inter Miami. Let's listen to Drake Callender talk about Luis Suarez, and then we'll go into the game and the season he's had.
No, I mean, it's just class. I think he gets himself in the right parts of the field. Very intelligent, knows where to shoot the ball, knows where to be, makes the right runs. And yeah, it's helped us out a lot. That was the difference tonight, was those two goals. So for him to come in and start the game like that, start a game a goal up with two first 2 minutes of the game is huge, and then go. I don't know when we scored the second goal, but it was still pretty early. So.
Fernando was 31 seconds.
Oh wow.
We've talked a lot about Luis Suarez on this pod, Jose. So just very quickly, let's just talk about the achievement, and if you want to add a couple of clip notes about the game, you can. But what'd you think?
Well, obviously for Luis Suarez, I was wrong at the beginning of the season, with my prediction.
Yes, Jose admitting he's wrong. We like it.
Although I'm still within the limit, because I said anywhere between 15 and 20. So, you never know. But I'm guessing I'm gonna be wrong on that one. So I better admit it now. Um, so Luis Suarez, we all know. Oh, by the way, I would like to say that Luis Suarez, he had a very good first half and maybe good 10 to 15 minutes in the second half. But after the 60th minute mark, Tata needs to find a way to convince him. Look, we have Campanita ready. He can make things a lot easier for us. So
It's not about that.
if
It's
we
not
can
about
get
that.
him 20, 25 minutes to
It's not about
Campana,
that.
if he can help us defensively against the good
It's not
teams,
about that.
he needs to make that decision. He needs to make that decision. Luis Suarez, the last 20, 25 minutes of the game, he's walking. Not the same. Not the same. I'm just saying. It seems like
It's not about that with him. Well, I
know.
could agree with your take. I can understand where you're coming from, and I could possibly agree with it. Not saying that I do, but I could possibly agree with it. But for Tata, it's clear that he wants his quality out there. He wants the quality out there for when he does get the ball, that he can relinquish pressure with his touches, his ability to scrap. Like, there were some 50-50s where, he got the aerial ball and he was holding the center back up, and the way they tussled and drew some fouls. It was.
Is it the same though? Is it the same
Again,
quality?
I am not arguing that you are wrong. I'm just saying what I think Tata Martino thinks by leaving Suarez out there. I think that's what he thinks. I think that's what he rates. He rates his ability on the ball, his ability to pass, his ability to relieve pressure, his ability to open space for others. I think he's so enamored with that y la jerarquía que tiene Suarez, like the know-how that Suarez has from his prolific career, that he leaves him on there. As Lionel Monaco says in the comment section, Luchito es un crack. Tank 721 says, yellow card rescinded for Jose for praising El Pistolero. There you go, Jose. You did yourself some good. I'll say this. Obviously a nice accomplishment for Suarez. I don't think it's surprising. If anyone paid attention to last year in the Brazilian First Division, Suarez's impact there, for me, a more competitive league. I mean, he was going to come in here and make an impact. I said that from the beginning of the season, and I had him at scoring many more goals. The season's not over. The year's not over. We also thought Open Cup was going to happen at that point, but whatever. Should finish on having a great season with Inter Miami. Andreita, our fellow co-host, Andrea Llanes, a.k.a. Ajicita, completely trashed him. And she likes to say, dragged him. Dragged him, and well, she was one of the silencers out there, silencers, haters, naysayers, doubters. Well, he silenced her, and he silenced many people. I don't know how you could possibly doubt Luis Suarez in MLS. I get it. There's concerns about his knee, his age, whatever, but he's always been a competitor. Clearly, he's taken it overboard sometimes. But he's always been competitive. So this is not a surprise, and the goals are only going to. Red card for Akizita. And Toniak says, "Don't forget his dark arts. He's a nightmare for defense." Absolutely, exactly. Skrilla says a lot of people said Suarez was washed. Sorry, man. Yeah, I just didn't see that happen. I didn't see that happen. Maybe in another league, in a top league in Europe, maybe he would struggle a little bit more, but
maybe.
I don't know.
Of course.
I don't know.
In a top league,
Listen, I'm not saying he'd be a starter. In a top league, he's not playing, 90 minutes or 80 minutes. He'd probably come off the bench and play 20. Could he make an impact there? Possibly. Yeah, possibly. He's got the jerarquía, the know-how. All right,
this
Jose.
is his last season, by the way.
I don't know about that. But again, a feather in his cap for him, but it's not surprising. And both of his finishes were well taken. If that game does not end, with Inter Miami going down to 10 men, I think he gets his hat trick. But all the same, sets the record. So kudos to him. More goals to come, surely. All right, so very quickly to wrap up the show, Inter Miami versus the Chicago Fire this weekend at Soldier Field in the Windy City. Like you said earlier, jump the gun. Inter Miami's here. Chicago Fire way down here. You can't even see them on the screen. Easy victory for Inter Miami. Yes?
I wouldn't say easy victory, but they will win. I mean, I would take this game as an opportunity not to completely rotate the squad because, you have a stretch of 2 weeks, I think, without a game. So I wouldn't rotate. I think they need to win this game, because of the supporter shield. But I would say they win this game. Yeah, I would say this one. They should be able to win this game. This is a good game for Benja.
Yes, they win. No, they don't rotate. Jose, this is the last game before the international break. They'll have a week off. No way you rotate. You've had a normal week of training. No, Messi's not going to play. But you play your strongest team. You play your strongest team.
Miami that won't go on the international break and they need minutes.
Question for you. Because last game they came out in a back five against Cincinnati. Then when the red card happened, they switched temporarily to a back four to get to halftime. When they came out in the second half, they went back to a back five.
That's against the good teams.
So back four this weekend.
Back four. Yes.
All right, give me the lineup. We both predicted that they will win.
All right, so
Calendar?
Obviously Drake, although Cole Jensen, if that is in the business of giving goalkeepers opportunities, I think this could be the moment for Cole Jensen.
You see Chelo Santos before Cole Jensen, but Drake Calendar.
Calendar. Chelo, Toto.
No, Toto's red card. Come on,
Toto's
man.
red card, correct.
Pay attention. I'm drinking and you're forgetting. Come on.
Yes, Chelo.
I'm drinking and you're getting drunk.
Chelo, Busi, Martinez, and Jordi. Then Channing Pride for your enjoyment. I think Benja will play.
So he starts. Not will play, he starts.
Yeah, I think Benja will start. Correct. I think Redondo goes to the bench for this one. I think Diego Gomez plays. And then I think Robert Taylor will be back for this one. Julian Gressel and Luis Suarez.
So I agree with your back four and the goalkeeper. Your midfield, I go Yannick Bright, Pere Redondo, Diego Gomez. And then up top, Suarez, Gressel, Rojas. I don't think Taylor starts. I just don't see that.
I think Robert Taylor is a much better role player than Matias Rojas. And that's why most of the good performances from Matias have been at Chase Stadium.
But it's another guy that Tata's brought in. I mean, he came in later in the season, but
right. And
not the guy that Tata has.
So yeah, it doesn't really matter where you play.
Don't overlook the Chicago Fire, man. It's still MLS. Again, there could be a hiccup along the way.
Will run.
Squirrella says the Chicago game could be a trap. And Inter Miami's playing away from home. Now, they haven't been terrible away from home, but you can't overlook an opponent. I don't. So you're
30 points.
Yes.
30 points.
No sobreestimes. Hey, last
30
week,
points.
No sobreestimes.
30. Not 15, not 20. 30 points.
Matias Rojas. I'll say this. Matias Rojas, and I'm not going to compare him in terms of his playing style at all. But for Inter Miami, he's very similar to Edison Flores with the Peruvian national team. Because Matias Rojas is de los goles importantes. He might not be the most involved in a given game from the build-up, from the run of play. He might not even be having a great game. But he can find goals. He can score goals out of nothing. And I think Tata Martinez rates that. Robert Taylor can score too. I'm not saying he can't. But he can't score the same type of goals Matias Rojas can. Matias Rojas can score de larga distancia, from distance. He can score in different positions, on different perfiles. Robert Taylor's more of a dribbler and finisher who needs some space to finish. So I think Matias Rojas gets the start. And I think Tata Martino rates him higher. Any prediction score? You want to give me a score before we wrap up?
I think 3-1. Inter Miami. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jose. So we will leave it there then for this week's show. We didn't even talk about we did a little bit, but I'll save it for next week. With regards to, winning Supporter Shield would be a nice treat, but of course MLS Cup is the bigger goal, right? That's where the pressure is really on. But we can dive into that as this stretch run continues. So we will leave it there for this week's show. We finished just on time as I would like. So thank you, Jose, for not getting too far away from the train tracks. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, everybody in the comment section, for tuning in. We will be back next week after I return from Las Vegas, which is crazy because I will only have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday back here in South Florida before I go to Ecuador. So, yeah, I'm off again next weekend.
Vacation.
Back to back.
Sixth one of the year.
But we will have a pod next week. I promise you guys that. We will have another pod next week. We almost didn't have one this week. Thankfully, Jose's schedule was kind to us. So we will be back again next week. Thank you again for tuning in. Give us a like, a share, a subscribe, a review on Apple Podcasts. We will talk to you guys in a few days. Have a great Labor Day weekend. You have been listening to Miami Total Futbol Radio. So for Jose Armando and Franco Penizo, hope you guys have a great night.